What's new, crew? If you're new, my name's Cassandra. Today we are in the homestead kitchen doing our first real batch of preserving for the year. I have a handful of vegetables. I'm going to show you guys how I'm preserving them, where I'm at, and all of those things. I want to take a second really quick and say, if you're not following me on Instagram, you really should. I am sharing things daily over there in my stories or in reels on just little clips on things that aren't a full YouTube video, but still a lot of knowledge and a lot of just preserving and gardening and all the things over there. So if you want to follow me over there, you really should, because I'm sharing a lot more than I ever have over there. If you're not subscribed, you should subscribe. So let's hop in and show you guys what I'm doing. This is what I harvested from the garden today. 4 heads of broccoli and a couple of my trilogy beans here. These are green beans, wax beans, and purple beans. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing with these in a second, but right now I'm just soaking these in salt water, just like I showed you guys in a recent video, just to make sure that all of the bugs are coming out. These have been soaking for a little bit, and then I have 2 separate pots of water starting to come up to a boil because we're going to be preserving 2 different things today between all the vegetables that I have. 2 smaller heads of broccoli and 1 very small head of cauliflower, and we are going to preserve the 2 small heads of broccoli, the cauliflower, and all of my beans together. We're going to blanch all of those together just for probably 2 or 3 minutes or so, rinse them, get them par froze, and into Ziploc bags to go in the freezer. My other 4 heads of broccoli that are currently sitting in the sink here are going to be in a separate pot here and preserved completely on their own. So we're going to preserve a mixed veggie and just plain broccoli today, but all we're doing is rinsing and washing, cutting into your sized portion however you want to do it, blanching them in our water, just using Ziploc bags. I don't use a vacuum sealer for any of my vegetables, I never have. But one of my favorite things that I preserved last year at the end of the garden season, when I had a bunch of small pieces of broccoli and peas and cauliflower, green beans, I blanched them all together, froze them all together, and we used them as a mixed vegetable bag, and we loved them. Made for really fun sides, just as a mixed thing. Everyone got a little bit of something that they liked. There was a lot of variety in it, which we ended up really liking, and it was a good way to use up a lot of things at the end of the season that I really didn't know what to do with. But I'm realizing it's also good for the beginning of the season when I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that just really starting to come in. So very simple. Let's get our beans pulled out and we will get those cleaned and into our pile here so that they can go in, and then we'll start processing the rest of our larger heads of broccoli. Beans here. Some people don't cut the ends off. I do. That's just the way I was taught. And all of my little caps here, I'm just going to throw into my compost bucket. I am trying to get into the habit of doing this outside when I'm in the garden, but some bad habits are harder to break than others. These were planted on the same day as my regular green beans, and these are ready, and my regular green beans still probably have at least a couple of days. But this is the first year I'm growing these. I thought they would be fun just color wise. They're really beautiful. I don't know what they're gonna look like after they're preserved, who knows, but I thought it would maybe at least give the illusion of more variety than what we actually have. But I mean, the wax beans taste different than green beans, and I've never had these purple beans, but I'm sure they're going to taste differently as well. But I have learned through preserving in the past, we like our green beans preserved cut. I experimented with that 2 years ago, leaving some of our green beans whole like this, because this is how we like them fresh. But I realized when we're eating them through the winter, we very much prefer to have them cut up a little bit. And I like to have I like to pick my green beans when they're smaller like this, before they get like really big and fat. They can get a little tough. So I tend to pick mine when they're a little bit more thin. This is going to be our one mix, our broccoli, cauliflower, and our wax beans, green beans, and some of these purple beans. So this is gonna be a really fun mix. We eat these in stir fries. We'll just thaw these out on the stove with a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper. Makes for a really easy side, and variety is also really good. We can roast this as well. Roasted green beans, cauliflower, broccoli with a little bit of shredded Parmesan cheese or like some lemon pepper. The reason you want to blanch your vegetables is because there is an enzyme in vegetables that tells them, hey, it's time to decay. That enzyme survives freezing temperatures, so even though you're freezing it, your vegetables can continue to kind of like age and do, I don't want to say decay because they're in the freezer, but that enzyme is still there. When you're blanching it, you're killing that enzyme, which is kind of like pre-treating your veggies in the boiling water, and it just kills off that enzyme. It shocks your veggies and keeps them at that peak freshness. That's why blanching is important. Is it necessary? No. There are some veggies that I don't blanch, peppers being one of them. I just wash them, cut them, put them in the freezer. But in things like this, I will blanch and flash freeze. When we're talking about flash freezing, we're just laying them out on a baking tray and putting them in the freezer for maybe an hour or two. This just keeps things from sticking together. If I were to just blanch these and throw these in a Ziploc bag, they will all bunch together. I will have to beat my Ziploc bag to be able to get out just a handful of broccoli or something like that. But this way, they're all frozen individually. They're not going to get stuck together. Now, are there times that I will just blanch things and throw them in the Ziploc bag? Absolutely. I did that with our veggie mix that we made with all those different veggies. There wasn't a lot in it. It was one portion for my family, so I didn't take the time to flash freeze it, but all this broccoli I did because I know that this is going to be a handful of meals worth of broccoli for my family. These have been in my freezer for a couple of days. This is our first bag of broccoli. So off of everything we preserved, we got about 1.5 gallons of broccoli off of those couple heads that we did. Plus we got 1 gallon of mixed veggies off of some smaller heads of broccoli, that small head of cauliflower, and those trilogy beans. So off of everything that we preserved in this video, we got 3-ish gallons of veggies, which is amazing. Very easy and very simple. And bags of broccoli are going for $5 a bag. Bird's eye ones that I like to purchase, the really big like 5-pound bags of broccoli, and we just preserved ours for the price of our broccoli starts and a Ziploc bag, which is amazing. So not too bad for a very quick preserving project with absolutely no canning needed, no equipment needed other than what you should typically already have in your kitchen. Very simple, very easy, and that's why I love blanching vegetables so much.